Welcome back to the Central Highlands of Sri Lanka. I've come from the country's cultural capital of Kandy to the town of Ella, which bills itself as Sri Lanka's adventure capital. It's situated at an elevation of 3,400 feet and surrounded by tea plantations and misty cloud forests in the middle of some of the country's most magnificent scenery. Ella is near the end of a stretch of railway between here and Kandy that's considered to be among the most spectacular train rides in the world. For years, this was an off-the-beaten-path sweet spot for those who knew about it, a haven for trekkers and outdoor enthusiasts drawn to unspoiled nature. But Ella isn't off the beaten path anymore. Rather, it's become a Sri Lankan backpacker town with new construction everywhere and with a lively party scene that has transformed the once sleepy town's main drag. Bars stay open late into the night, some morphing into restaurants during the daylight hours. Ella's new image as a party place might surprise those who come here unknowingly. You'd be forgiven for wondering, how did all these people, most of them foreign tourists, get here? The answer, of course, is the train line, which wends its way from the capital, Colombo, the most famous segment being between the city of Kandy and Ella. It's a stretch of railway about 90 miles long when you factor in all the twists and turns.
The train ride is an experience in high demand. First and second class tickets are inexpensive and sell out quickly, but there's a huge caveat. They go on sale about 32 days prior to departure, and only a lucky few are able to book them online. That's because they're scooped up by travel agencies who mark them up at triple the face value or more, similar to the legalized ticket scalping that goes on in the music concert industry. It's also why I wasn't able to come from Kandy to here on the train. Sold out. I came by car instead.
The main line from Colombo ends about 45 miles beyond Ella at the provincial capital of Buddhist, but most people get off the trains here at Ella's quaint little railway station, largely unchanged since the 19th century. That's when the British built the railroad to haul tea and other products from the highlands to the coast. The train that just pulled up that you see below is not one of the long-range trains that go to Colombo. For those wondering, there's not a lot of difference between first and second class on any Sri Lankan train. The primary difference is that in the first class you're guaranteed a place to sit, and it's also air-conditioned. In second class, the window's open, so there's always a breeze. It's a little bit more conducive to meeting locals, if you like the idea of mingling with Sri Lankans as a way to expand the enjoyment of being here.
Local or express, few trains linger for long in Ella. Of sites in and around Ella, none is more iconic than this World War I era railroad bridge.
Well, one of the side benefits of coming to the Nine-Arch Bridge is you get a good workout with a hike through the forest.
Getting here can be tricky, for some more than others. Less than 10 minutes on the trail beyond the tuk-tuk's reach, the bridge comes into view.
The bridge was quite the engineering feat a century ago. As you can imagine, there were sizable logistical challenges dealing with the rugged terrain in such an isolated place, starting with just getting the needed material and equipment in here. It was built completely with stone bricks and cement with no steel, except of course for the rails and the pins that support them. During World War I, the steel intended for it was reallocated to the war effort. It may have proved to have been a good thing because there's no question that the stone and cement facings add to its allure. In the age of social media, it's become its own tourist attraction, swarmed by people who gather here several times a day when trains cross it to get that perfect Instagram photo. I'm down on the bridge itself, so that's the vantage point. And here comes the train. Maybe the least advantageous spot you could record this. It's just that I got caught out of position and stuck down on the bridge when the train actually showed up. It was quote-unquote scheduled to come past this bridge at about 9:30, and it turns out it showed up at 8:58. And it's now clear to me why the train is stopped. And that's to allow passengers on the train to get their own Instagram shots from the train. But they say good things happen to those who wait, and in this case it worked out.
Downhill from Ella, a 15-minute tuk-tuk ride from town, is a waterfall that's not only wonderful to see, but which figures prominently in Sri Lankan lore. It also happens to be a waterfall with a deep connection to Hindu literature and folklore. Ravana was an ancient legendary king of Lanka, the name of the island given to today's Sri Lanka in ancient Hindu epics. He was a key player in one of the more famous and influential of those epics, both for Hindus and Buddhists, the Ramayana, believed to have begun to be written 7 centuries before Christ.
Well, this is about as close as I can get. At the foot of the falls, there's a guardrail here, and there is a trail that is pretty rugged, even when it's not the rainy season. Standing here, you can't really appreciate it on film because you can't get a full grasp of the way the 3 tiers are layered. In the epic, Ravana famously kidnaps Sita, the wife of the Hindu deity Rama, in an act of revenge. To hide the kidnapped Sita from the deity, he brings her here to this waterfall and holds her in caves nearby. The caves alluded to are up there at the top of this mountain, and for the intrepid, it's possible in the non-rainy season to hike to the top and enter the caves, as some people are doing even this afternoon. This falls is easier to get to, and I guess that's a blessing and a curse because there are many people gathered here on and around this bridge at the base of the falls at the highway.
I haven't seen a road around Ella that wasn't beautiful, including the one leading to my guest house, the Green Village.
It has an isolated feel to it because it's down a steep slope behind a Buddhist temple. When I arrived here by car from Kandy, the driver did not want to come down to the homestay because the lane is rather steep and narrow. I took my backpack and pulled my suitcase down the slope to actually enter the place. Once you're here, you can go in and out on tuk-tuks. The mornings are very special. There are monkeys playing up and down these tall palm trees that are just a delight to watch. On the balcony you can have such great views, not just of the Ella Gap, but of the nearby forest.
Without question, what I love most about this place is nightfall. I don't know what to say. It's magical.
There are any number of hiking trails from Ella, and I've come to one of them, a popular one, that leads to Little Adams Peak with a summit that is said to offer a wonderful 360-degree view. As with so many of these attractions around Ella, you really wouldn't know how to find some of these places or get to them without a tuk-tuk because they're just scattered about in the hillside. And so that's what I've done again this morning. I grabbed a tuk-tuk to get down to the trailhead. It's windy this morning, and so the audio is not perhaps that great. When you get up to the top, you realize that there's 3 peaks. By the naked eye, it's impossible to tell which one of them is the tallest. It may be by a very small amount the far peak, the one at which the trail actually ends. There's just a lot of people on this trail, and so I'm not pointing a finger of criticism because I'm one of them, but it's just a reality that if you had come here a few years ago, you would not experience Ella and the area around it in the same way that you experience it today. There's just a swarm of travelers who've made this place very popular. The place loses something when that happens, but you can't blame people for wanting to come to a place as wonderful as this. But even on this trail, you head out and you think you're going to go into a kind of unspoiled nature and climb a peak, and what you have is attractions that are nearly a quarter of the way up the trail, zip lining and just concessions of different kinds, souvenir shops, the usual stuff in tourist towns. Of course, you see many tea plantations throughout the highlands. Between Kandy and Ella, as I travel by car with the driver, I must have passed at least a half dozen or more large tea plantations with their own tea factories, each set up as a tourist attraction, and they're all packed. Well, this trail was certainly worth it. Maybe a morning workout, and there were some places where it was pretty crowded. You had to wait to pass as people went through some narrow points on the trail. But the views are splendid. You can see the entire valley below around the outline of the mountains here.
Besides street food, there are plenty of burgers and pizzas served up and down Ella's main street. But at the Cafe Ciela, I found high-quality Sri Lankan dishes at very reasonable prices.
It's run by a couple, a husband and wife. The husband is the chef in the back, and the wife handles the front.
The curry dishes here are some of the best I've had anywhere.
And I think here it comes.
Steamed rice.
Okay.
Steamed rice.
Steamed rice.
Jackfruit curry.
Jackfruit curry.
Dal curry.
That's dal curry.
This cassava, like potato, onion.
Cassava.
Pumpkin.
Pumpkin.
Tomato curry.
Tomato curry.
Cabbage.
Cabbage.
Coconut sambar.
Repeat that. What is this one?
Coconut sambar.
Oh, coconut.
Yeah. Fresh coconut sambar. Pamada. This mango chutney.
And what's this again?
Mango chutney.
Okay. Mango chutney.
Yeah. This is spicy chili paste. If you like spicy, you can
Yes.
make this.
Yes. Spicy chili paste.
Okay.
Not too spicy.
No, it's little bit spicy. Chili is spicy.
I know it will be delicious. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Enjoy food.
I will. Thank you.
Every time.
Me redistribute this, start eating. Just really good. There's one thing about the nighttime here, and I never thought I would say this about Sri Lanka, but it's nice and cool. And comparatively speaking, that's also true during the day, but the nights here settle into sort of a high 60s, low 70s degrees Fahrenheit. It feels exactly like springtime, which I guess is the way the Sri Lankan highlands are supposed to feel.